Oke, balik lagi di podcast Chief Chat barengan gue Oki.
Dan gue Fatsi.
Dan kita kedatangan tamu lagi dari jauh. Dan ini memang benar-benar spesial banget untuk hari ini.
Bukan main ya. Jadi kontaknya lama. Terus datang ke sini khusus dalam acara tertentu yang kita bikin sendiri acaranya. Kalau kemarin kan bintang tamu dari luar negeri tapi karena ada acara lain kan. Kalau ini kita yang datangin khusus ke sini.
Jadi figur ini adalah figur seorang barber dan datang dari Los Angeles. Dia adalah SOFIE Staygold. Welcome, SOFIE.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited
Welcome to
for
our
this.
studio. Welcome to Jakarta as well.
Yes, first time in Indonesia.
How do you like so far?
So far, it's been really cool.
It's not 24 hours yet, right?
Not 24 hours yet. We saw a thunderstorm, and that's it.
Motorcycle probably.
A lot of motorcycles, Uber motorcycles, which I've never seen before, which is an interesting and fun thing to watch.
So this is your first time in Southeast Asia even?
I believe so. This far south, yeah. This is the first time. Mm-hmm.
So if I can go back a little bit to the first time I contacted you. So it's for the Barber Life Volume 4. And it's quite a long discussion and long, how to say?
Back and forth.
Back and forth. And then what makes you want to come to Indonesia?
I honestly enjoy traveling and being able to kind of share my experiences in different countries. I think has been also really eye-opening for me to learn a different way of just understanding what people need and what they need help on, and it kind of helps me reevaluate a lot of my education and structure and what I can do to like kind of help everybody understand different things.
Okay, so basically you're open to share your knowledge everywhere in the world. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Any particular country that you want to go into?
I love a lot of Asia. I haven't gone to very many, but I'm hoping that in the next couple years I can cover a lot of the Asian countries.
How many countries so far?
This will be 19 for me.
This year?
This location especially marks 19.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's going to be your last country to finish 2019
For
tour.
the year.
That's cool. The 19th country for 2019.
That's right. Only one time, right?
Only one time. It's a very beautiful number.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit about how did you enter the barbering scene for the first place?
So this is taking me back now 10 years. The first time I joined the hair industry, I needed a break from academics. I think coming from most cultures, specifically Asian cultures, we are kind of on a certain route to achieve law or medicine kind of careers. And so when I chose to do hair, my mom and most of my family didn't understand it. I think it's because at the time Instagram wasn't really big yet, so there's not a lot of things that you can see like that happen within the industry. So by the time that I got into it, I was like, Mom, like I want to do hair, just want to give it a chance. I'm going to take a break from academics and pursue something more creative. I was going back and forth between business and psychology. And the schooling for that program was a long time. So I was like, before I jump into like a 15-year route into something new, let me just cut hair and just see what happens. It was 1 year. So if anything didn't go right, you can switch out of it fast. So I got into it.
You're already in the States, right?
In the States, yes.
Okay.
And within the first year, just going through school, I was like, this is kind of fun. I feel like I can do this for a while. So then I did beauty school, and then I did salon the first year, color and cutting. And
So cosmetologist.
yeah, cosmetology. And I didn't feel like there was an attachment to what I was doing. It didn't feel fun. And so before I gave up doing hair in general, by my second year, I was like, you know what, let me try a barbershop and just see how it is. And once I got into the barbershop, I was like, wow, this is hard. Very difficult to learn how to fade, and there's so many more detailed work. But there was something so fun about it that I was like, I could do this for a while. I know I have a lot to learn, but it was something I felt like I could stay in. The pace was really fast, so every single day it's something brand new, and it made it fun. So that's kind of how I got in.
All right. So in the first place, actually, you cut women's hair
I did women's hair first, yeah.
for
1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
Wow.
And you got bored?
I got bored. I was like, this is what I went to school for? Like, I don't know if I love this. It didn't feel like something I could do for a long time.
Okay.
You know, and I felt it instantly. Because once I started doing short hair, it was a different feeling. It was like, oh, this is, like, I could feel myself gravitate towards that. But even in beauty school, when I went to school, we have, you know, obviously long hair and short hair come in, and everybody always said, give the short hair to Sophie. So even from the start, I always drifted more towards short hair. I just didn't know that that was kind of what I was more interested in. It was just something I just did because nobody else wanted to do it, and then I also liked cutting short hair more than I did with long hair.
So that's interesting. So barbering actually pushes you even further. Okay.
Yeah.
So any specific hairstyle that you like to explore? I mean, male haircut is basically is not as variety as women haircut. So when we're talking about gentleman's haircut or men's haircut, how far you can explore the style?
Well, now with just seeing how the industry is crisscrossing, like you're getting a lot of hairdressers who are learning barbering and barbering learning more hairdressing techniques, you do get a massive variety. Like, sure, we're cutting like more detailed hair, but as an overall thing, like every haircut is customized differently. You can pull from a side part, and then you can pull with the crop and put them together. You can, you know, add and subtract different things. So when you think about what you can create with it and all the custom styles that people are doing now, where they don't have to blend, it could just be disconnected. Like, you're just mixing so much that now there is so much variety. Like with women's hair, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but you're just working with different lengths, maybe a longer length. But I think with men's hair, like, it's if you're open enough to learn and be versatile and try different things, like, you can start to mix and match and create new styles. And a lot of the clients will enjoy it because then it's like you're always constantly changing. That's one of the main thing with the barbers is, like, they don't want to go to someone that's giving them the same haircut all the time. Then they're like, oh, I got bored, I'm going to go look for somebody else. So when you open the idea of, like, learning different techniques and different styles, you just start gravitating different types of clientele, which keep you busy and kind of creative, because then you don't get as bored doing the same cut over and over again.
Okay. So from your perspective, if we compare 2019 compared to the first year you get into barbering, do you see any progression in terms of men's hairstyle?
Big time. We have a lot of visibility now on Instagram, on YouTube. There's a giant push in just, like, the social, like, what's the word? Where it's just so, like, highlighted. You know, you see so much more of the industry that now, like, I get people all the time that are like, I'm leaving my corporate job and I'm joining barbering.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like 20 years into a different business, and they're like, I want to do something more creative, but I was just scared. But now people are seeing, like, hey, there's a lot of things that are possible. And I think once you share with people that, you know, like, it doesn't just stop in a barbershop, like, you can expand, you can go this way, you can go that way. You build a lot of hope for different people that are from different parts of the world, and for me, it's just like, if I see what's possible from somebody else, that makes me feel excited, because I'm like, that's dope, because that means I have this much more to climb, and there's just so much more. And I didn't know that until I'm probably like a couple years into the industry, where I started to branch off and try to learn, like, what else is going on.
Okay. So if we see that based on your experience in barbering industry, that must be ups and downs in your career.
Of course.
Can you share us the lowest point in your career life as a barber?
The lowest point?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I started, the easiest one is being in a male-dominated industry, right? You deal with a lot of guys in the shop. The idea of female barbers, at least in what I've experienced, wasn't very big. There was only a couple girls here and there, and I just remember clients looking at me and be like, I don't know if I want you to cut my hair just because you're a girl, you know, stuff like that. Or they question how many years you've been doing it. And at the time, the first shop that I was at was at 4 years. That's where I learned most of, like, my understanding for, like, fades and stuff. And at 2 years, they're like, oh, that's too little, I'll go somewhere else. Or if I'm available, they'll switch between, I'd rather not have you, but any guy is fine. They don't care what level they were, they don't know.
They really told you like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
and
very harsh.
Yeah, it happens. And I mean, in the beginning, that was probably what hurt me the most. I was a little bit more sensitive when I joined. I think when you start working in a barbershop, you do have to grow a little bit more of a tougher skin, because you're going to deal with that stuff. And if you can't survive it, it's going to be really hard for you to, like, stay consistent and keep growing. But I think that's any job out there in the world, like whether it is male dominated or not, like you have to work hard no matter what, especially if you want to, like a lot of times too, people are like, how do you gain respect from other male barbers or the clients and whatever? And the easiest thing for me is like you build your skill set and let that do the talking for you. Because when you have something to show, you don't need to talk. People can see the difference in the skill. And I think that was easier to grow once people could see like, oh, she cuts good hair. Like I trust her now. Like I don't have to be like, well, let me beg you to come get a haircut because I'm good, and they don't believe me. It's like, well, here's it is. You've seen the stuff, and it made it a little bit easier to kind of grow from there.
So that was 10 years ago.
10 years ago, but it happened within the first three to 4 years. And then when I moved to a different shop, it happens at the same time, because then you're in a different location. Now you're rebuilding your reputation in that area. You still deal with it. Like if I, at this moment, went to go work at a barbershop, I'm sure it'll happen again. That's just what it is.
Okay.
And you have to kind of accept it. Like that's the world you live in, and I'm not mad at it. It's just that's what you have to go through. And if you can't handle it, like it does get a little tough. So a lot of it is a lot of like just trust in yourself. And when you think about it, there's a lot of people in the world. So one client that you lose, it's not going to be too bad, you know?
So if we go back to from the man of your family to become a lawyer or a doctor, and then go into the barbershop and you still need to prove a lot, right? Does that mean that competitiveness and toughness will be the main criteria for a barber?
Yeah, it really is.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's a male-dominated industry. Okay.
Yeah, and you know, it just takes a little bit of work and just being able to step back sometimes, because sometimes I think we're so heavily focused on, you know, because when you're in there, you're just like when I think back, I'm like, my focus was just like, I just need to make sure my haircuts are so good. So then that was my main focus of just trying to prove myself. And so if somebody threw me off and said, I don't want a haircut, it would like destroy me, because I was like, you've been working so hard and this person's trying to discredit you for not even knowing you. And so it taught me how to just kind of let things go, you know, like it's going to happen, whether it's a few times or a lot of times. I think, I don't know, there's something about like the tough struggles that kind of help you push harder, because you're just like, God damn, like he doesn't believe it, but hopefully while he's sitting and waiting over there and watching me cut somebody else, he'll see the difference or something, you know? So there's always a way around it, and you just kind of have to build a different perspective on it, because in the moment, of course, back then, I was looking at a different way, but now as it happens still, I'm not as sensitive to it anymore.
So 3 years, I think it's not a short period of time. I mean, it's quite long. What is your biggest motivation to stay in barbering and then keep cutting hairs?
For me, I think the goals and everything with the barbering kind of evolved over time, right? So in the beginning, obviously, it's just I wanted to make sure that my clients were like super happy, because I remember what it was like to get my haircut and never get a good haircut. I was never happy. My mom took me to these little places. They never listened to me, right? Everyone knows those stories. You get a haircut you never asked for. So I was like, you know what? Now that the tables have turned and I'm that person in charge, I want to make sure they're getting the best haircut. My favorite part of the whole entire process was to show them the mirror at the end. I wouldn't let them see the haircut until the end. I'm like, you just got to trust me. Okay. And then when I show them and they're just like, what? I didn't know my hair could do this. I was like, that's fulfilling for me. So that was the first idea of just like hair. And then also part of that was showing my mom, like, hey mom, this is a legit career. Like I can't tell you because you're not going to believe it. So let me just show you over time. That was another thing. And then also too, another thing that I remember really, really clear is at the time when you tell somebody you're a hairdresser or a barber, people don't look at it like a real job. It's not. People didn't want to know. They're like, oh, you're a barber? Oh, interesting. Let me ask you some questions. It was like, oh, you're a barber. Okay, next. Like, let me see the next conversation.
Like a plumber.
Yeah, like working at McDonald's, right? And so I just remember it just made me feel super like low. I was like, dang, really? Because when I was learning, I was like, this is actually really hard, but people don't really give it a chance to see. And so another thing with like my Instagram and stuff is like, I was like, you know what, if people don't understand it, let me build good content so people could see it. So I started doing like better photography, videography. That's what helped me really get into it, because I was like, I want to show people like what more to than what they are seeing from an outside. Maybe
So
the
they
details.
can appreciate.
Yes, and that kind of helped. So that helped me kind of start building my Instagram. And then also too, like even now, you know, I started Instagram back in 2012, and now I get messages from people that are like, I don't cut hair, I don't do any of that, but I really appreciate what you do. And they can see that it's tough, because I share a lot about it, like the ups and the downs, whatever it is, because it is worth being recognized that that to learn what you have to do in barbering and to be successful at it is a very tough road. But of course, like not a lot of people share the tough times. It's easy to just talk about the good stuff, you know, and I try my best to kind of keep that balance.
So from your explanation, I can hear that you're very passionate about barbering. From your gesture, from the way you tell the story. Have you ever felt bored in this industry, being a barber? Probably you want to change career.
Of course. Again, this was in the first, I want to say 6 years. This was when I was cutting a lot. So this was just being in a barbershop. This was before traveling, before educating. I was like, okay, this is great and all, but now I'm working too much. I'm learning everything I can, and now it's so repetitive. You have the same set of clients every single week. You're in a hamster wheel now. And I'm like, this is also like, I question the same thing. I'm like, did I really go to school and learn all this just to live this life for another 10 years? And I was just thinking of the long haul. I'm like, is this the same repeat schedule I want? And I remember talking to maybe another barber hairstylist, and they needed help with learning how to do barbering. And because I came from a stylist background, it was easy for people to connect with me because I could explain it in a way that they understood it from a cosmetology standpoint. And then when I was talking to whoever it was, I was like, oh shit, like maybe I have something to share that could help other stylists, because there must be more, right? Because I came from that. And so we started teaching. It was me and this other girl that I used to work with. We started teaching local, just in the shop. We didn't have more than like 2 or 3 people at a time, and just trying it. Yeah. We were like, okay, so we're going to teach how to do some cuts and how to use scissors, and it was really basic.
When was this?
This was probably my 4th year.
All right.
6 years ago.
6 years ago. Okay.
And then I tried that. The next 2 years, that's when I moved to a different city, and then I had to start from scratch, build a new clientele, which I was doing really, really well, and then I hit the hole for like 2 years almost. No clients, started over. It was really hard because I was like, you would think that as you move, you could rely on your social media or whatever to help you build clientele, but it's not what you see online all the time. Like, there's nothing more than still like meeting people and talking to people and being on foot and trying to create clientele that way. And I had to switch it.
That's the essence of barbering, right?
Yeah. It kind of reset me all over again to learn how to like rebuild a clientele in a different city. It wasn't far, but most times people are not going to want to drive more than an hour to go get their appointment. So once we teach locally, this was so from that first class I taught, and we started just kind of doing little bits here and there. Babeless had found me through Instagram, and they were starting their barbering division, which they never had before. Everything was based around more hot tools, styling tools. And so they hit me up, and they're like, hey, like we like what you're doing online. You know, you're able to you're kind of educating already, but in a small way. But like, would you want to be part of our new barbering division and travel and do hair shows and stuff? And I was like, that's crazy. Never thought that was a possibility. But I'm very much so like, if there's some sort of new project that hasn't been done, I'd like to kind of test it out and see, you know, you have nothing to lose. I'm like, sure, let's try it, you know? And being with them and being able to have now built a bigger platform to be able to share like everything that I've done, I think that has evolved now to a new purpose for me of being able to like educate and teach and not only help people in skill sets, but now it's going more towards like helping people build a better mindset to kind of also push their business. Because half the time, of all the classes I've done before, there is techniques, most definitely. We have to learn the skill set. But what happens is you're going to learn the skill set regardless, just depending on how much time you put into this. But what about the other half of what you have to do? The thought process, the mental strength that you have to build to keep yourself inspired and motivated. Like, that's not something that just happens to you. You personally have to go look for it, right? And so now being able to like see messages from people where they're just like, you haven't just inspired me to be a better barber, but to be a better human being. And I'm like, that was something that I really felt like and for me too, it's like I've been able to be lucky to have a certain support group around me that helps me catch those things. So if I start slipping, someone's going to check me quick, you know, and you need that sometimes. And to see like how my life has evolved in the last 4 years, based around just having a better mindset and building more mental strength for a lot of stuff that I do, it's literally changed the entire course of my career, including work, work, personal, everything. And so after seeing that, I was like, this is something other people should also learn, because what stops a lot of us is ourselves, like our doubts, thinking we're not good enough, our beliefs, the stories we tell ourselves. So when you start telling yourself a different story, a better story of what is possible, you are more willing to put more work into something that you love doing.
Okay, so your purpose is very deep. I like your purpose.
Yeah,
it changes. So it's been already like 10 years, right? So your purpose is getting more deep. What is your top tips for barber or barber owner? What is the mentality that they have to own in terms of
owners
and maybe barber that is also an owners,
business owners.
Owners.
Well, for business owners, I think first it's creating a space where people can feel like they can grow. I think that's another thing too. When people feel like it's also their home, where it's not just like I just work for someone, but I also am excited to work for someone because they care about my growth as well. So I think to keep them involved in education, I think education always is going to feed you to kind of grow. I've seen that happen differently in different shops that are giving education to their barbers, keep them around, keep them inspired, keep them happy. Because sometimes what happens, like you just have everybody cut all the time, and then it's like a hamster wheel for everybody. It's like, oh, maybe I want to go do this now, maybe I'm going to do that. So I think just keeping them excited, giving them an environment that allows them like space to grow, I think is one of the main things.
You're talking about creativity, right? I mean, how are you channeling that creativity? I mean, you have like 10 to 12 client per day, and then times 30 days a month. Other than haircutting and going to education, go to YouTube and everything else, you kind of need something else, right? How to trigger that?
There? I think it's just based on desire. Like you have to think about it, and that's something that everybody has to answer themselves, because you can. What do they say? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? So it's kind of the same thing. It's like, I can tell you why you should have these goals, but if you don't want it, how are you going to work harder for it? You know what I mean? So I think that sometimes too, people don't actually ask themselves why they're doing it. And when you think about, like for me, I just gave you guys a list of things that inspire me, that keep me interested. Because I have those, it's allowing me to push harder for everything that I do, because there's an end goal that I kind of feel and I kind of see. So for these people, it's like if you want a certain, whether it's a certain type of clientele, you want to start charging a certain number, like you got to find out what it is that is going to get you up every single day, that makes you want to work. Like you have to have some sort of like even just short-term goals. It doesn't have to be like something you see in like 5 years, but like give yourself something. It's just like, okay, for me the easiest one was I wanted to cut better, right? I wanted to get better. I didn't want to have people say I don't want you to cut my hair. I wanted to be so good that you couldn't even deny me because you saw the work. And that was my first one, and I focused on that, and I just kept, it was every single day, I'm going to work hard at this, just this, and that's it. and I work until I started seeing that feedback of what I wanted people to see, right? And then would go to the same another thing. If it was my photography, I got to put more time into that. So when you really, really want something, it doesn't matter if you're working full time and you have no time, you will always find a way to make time for it. Because in the beginning too, like people always say, I don't have time to make content because I'm working so much. And that's true. But for me, I worked a full 6 days a week, like 12-hour long days, but I had to make content somehow. So I would spend my nighttime to start learning how to do video editing. YouTube is going to teach you how to do all of that. You know, you don't really have to go to school for it. It's just a lot of trial and error and testing that out. But if you really, really want it, there's always going to be a way for you to achieve that. And that's your desire. Like, how bad do you actually want it? Because that's going to determine how much you're going to work for
That's
that.
the fire inside of you. Yeah.
Exactly. Without it, then, you know, maybe you have to ask yourself, maybe I'm not that passionate about it, right? Because if you're passionate about it, you can't stop thinking about it. You just want to do it all the time.
Even it's hard.
Even when it's hard, because that's when it matters the most. Because when it gets hard, you have so much love for it that it's pushing you through even the lowest points. If you don't actually feel passionate about it, once you hit those lows, you just want to throw your hands up. That's it. Yeah.
I think I really admire you because you are a complete type of barber. Not only a barber, you're also an influencer and also a educator as well. And you do your photography and videography. Do you really think that all barbers should follow your footsteps? I mean, should has those all around kind of skill set?
I mean, I think everyone's a little different. I just hope that maybe if it's not all of it, like you can kind of pick and choose some things that maybe that you can gravitate towards and maybe relate to me. So if it's photography, if it's videography, or education, I mean, there's so many avenues I feel like I kind of get into. But if one of those helps you, like I mean, it's pretty dope to be able to have different outlets, all creative outlets that also, because it's like the more you can do, it just also feels like you can feel a little bit more balanced than doing like one thing only, you know, like it helps me kind of stay like.
It's a very good point.
It's like if I only cut hair in the shop, I'm like, damn, this is boring. But now I travel, so I'm like, okay, cut. Now I get to travel, do something completely different, and then come back. And then it makes me appreciate one or the other. So when I'm home for too long, I'm like, gosh, I want to be on an airplane. And then when I'm on the airplane, I'm like, gosh, I miss cutting hair in the shop. So it's actually helping me, making sure like I stay appreciative. I stay grateful for different things. And that's also another thing is like, once you learn how to like less focus on the stuff that you don't have or what you want that you don't have yet, and you focus more on just like you being, you know, having gratitude for things that you're already doing. And maybe you're not that good yet, but the fact that you even have a choice to even choose what you want to do, like that's one of the biggest blessings that people forget about. And also when you are happy with where you're at, like you project a better energy around you that makes people want to work with you. When you're just like you got a cloud going over your head everywhere you go, like you're distancing a lot of opportunities. And I believe in a lot of energy and just how we carry ourselves, what kind of spirits we bring, because that also helps you gain a lot of opportunity. You know, if you're a Debbie Downer, who's going to want to work with you?
Yeah.
I think we all know that the competition between barbers, educators, global educators are very, very tight. How you differentiate yourself compared to other barbers? What values that you try to build behind your name?
I think the first mistake I did was trying to be like somebody else already, right? Someone that already exists. It's like now you're just copying somebody else's road. And the more I learned how to be myself, I think that started to help me create this like Stay Gold brand. The Stay Gold brand actually came from a tattoo that I got on my knuckles. This was back in 2012. It was right when Instagram started for me. I was like, you know, what I really liked about the phrase was that it reminded me that no matter what you go through, you have to be yourself, be who you are, regardless of circumstances or any situation that happened to you. You got to stay true to yourself. So when I started Stay Gold, I actually didn't know it was going to turn out to be this thing, but now over time, and I've been able to kind of define what that means. It is basically just like being able to, you know, whatever it is that you choose to become, like be that genuinely, be it humbly, like don't ever let opportunities control you. And so to me, when I see that every day, it's still like a reminder. I still get these reminders like why I got it. And like, so it kind of helps me kind of stay grounded no matter what I go through. It's just like, I'm always going to be me. I'm not going to, because it's easy. It's really easy to adapt and fall into something else that you're not. And then eventually you lose yourself. And I'm sure we've all gone through that where, you know, different situations, you kind of get lost. So I think that was one thing that really helped me. It was like, no matter what, like I stayed true to my course. Like if I liked psychology, which is what I was interested in before, I still kind of am doing a lot of psychology with clients, with, you know.
Doing consultation?
Yeah, consultation. Now people ask me questions like things you would ask Dr. Phil, you know what I mean? I'm literally going through it sometimes with people. Not even about hair, it's just about life.
Yeah.
And so it's just funny how that all still kind of happens. But, you know, I just, no matter what it is, it's just like my main thing is just having, just opening myself up to being able to help people on different levels, I think helped me kind of separate myself, you know, where it was just like, it's not Sophie the barber, it's Sophie educating, photography, videography, or you can just talk to her because she just understands and will try to help.
Yeah, so really interesting. I mean, your background, the way you really apply all your values into barbering, really get into you right now, really shape you. Yeah. And that is how people really see you now. So becoming an influencer, it has a very huge responsibility. How do you control the influential that you got in you? I mean, it's only a thumb away with your such big followers. I mean, how do you educate yourself or your followers on how to become more grounded, more humble, and be or stay positive?
That one was really hard for me too, because the more clear I was able to understand myself, I think that made it easier to like what I wanted to talk about and share. Because what we allow ourselves to like read and listen to every day, like that does weigh either you down or makes you feel higher, right? And so I started to learn how to cut stuff out that wasn't good for like my mental like energy. And it helped me kind of just figure out like, okay, as things are happening, and this happens like every day. Okay, I read this and it resonated with me. I'm going to share that. And so people can see like, hey, this is something that I'm learning today. So, and I would tell them all the time, like, the stuff that I share is not stuff that I've already been able to understand or learn. Like, those are things I'm still going through, but I'm going to share it. And people like the book recommendations that have helped me. Basically, everything that I'm sharing on there is just a reflection of how that's affected my life and made it better for me. So I feel like the more I can share that and talk about it, the more that people will also tune in to understand that they could use those same tools to help themselves in different situations, you know, whether work related or not. That's kind of what helped me. What else?
Yeah, I really like your latest story that you shared, that how to really listen. Why did you share about that specifically?
Specifically, that relates back into, I think, that relates to Instagram. Just
I think
recently.
that's what differentiates her with everyone else.
Yes.
Because being in the male-dominated industry, male have a lot of ego, right?
Right. And yeah, so it was actually just because anything I post is related to something I'm thinking of or going through at the moment. And that one relates to Instagram because sometimes, I mean, a lot of times, people listen so that they can react. They already know what they're going to say. They're just letting you finish, right? And that's just, you get into a lot of disagreements that way. And I think when you just are able to like listen fully to what someone is saying and allowing people to still believe in what they want to believe, because you don't have to force anything down anybody. Whether they understand it or not, it's not about you, it's about them. So if they don't agree, that's not a reflection that you don't have the right information. We all choose what we want to believe that is more real or fake, you know? And so with that also goes about just like clients and stuff. Like clients want something specific. It's like my childhood nightmare. You want this? Okay, I'm gonna give you something else. You know, like people aren't listening. So when you actually listen, like you're opening yourself up to having a more constructive conversation versus something that you're just fighting the whole time, you know? So I think there is a huge, and that's something even for me, like I used to be like that. I'm like, whatever you're saying, I already made a decision. So whatever you say, like I almost don't even listen and I'm just waiting to have my piece so I can say what I need to say. But now I'm like, no, like people are going to go through different things that create these experiences for them. And now I actually listen to people and try to understand it and see it from a different perspective. Maybe I could learn something. And when you think of it that way, you become less, what's the word? I guess harder to approach because you're just a little bit more understanding of just like, we all have different experiences. So why not learn a little bit from you, Like there's something everybody can teach us. And when you think about it that way, you just create less problems.
Interesting. So I think as a barber, as an influencer, you have influenced a lot of barbers in Indonesia or across the globe. But as a Sophie Staygold, do you have somebody that influenced you and shape you to become Sophie Staygold now?
I think I think also too, like you meet a lot of people throughout your life, and whether they're good or bad, they've all taught you different lessons. So you're kind of like a whole package of every person you've experienced all throughout your life. So there's probably a lot of influence that has happened within my life, starting from when I was a kid, learning how to work through my family, you know, like different relationships, friendships, different work environments. I think they all kind of shape you and teach you different things. But also too, I just remember what it's like to suck, like to be last pick for everything, to be like, you know, being told you can't do it, you know, like when you think about all those things and you remember your day one of learning, or just, you know, whatever, the clients that didn't want to get a haircut, like all those things have helped me push through a lot of hard times, because also too, it's just like, I never want to live the same life that I had the year before. As I evolve, I want to keep progressing. Like, if you're not progressing, it's almost like, what are you doing it for? Like, we should all be moving towards something bigger and better. Every single year, you're getting more knowledge. There's more tools available. It's almost like, how can you even fail when there's so much? First of all, there's a lot of free education online. How do you not want to take advantage of that? It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
There's no name.
There's no name.
We're waiting for name.
We're waiting for somebody. But
I'm sorry, I don't have a specific name.
It's okay. But
People ask me that all the time. I'm like,
yeah.
honestly, I don't have a specific name. I just don't like to be the same as last year.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Your opinion of yourself actually should matter the most. What you believe about who you are and what you want to represent, that should be the highest level of opinion, because that's the one that chooses. You know, your outside sources, they can't say, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this. You're, you know, at the end of every day, you choose what choice you want to create. So your opinion of who you think you are and what you want is going to be the most valuable.
So future Sophie is the inspiration of the current Sophie.
Yes.
Yeah?
That's a good way to put it.
that's true. So any what is your short-term goals? I mean, next year, like 2020 is 2 months away.
Short-term goals?
I was imagining, like, when I was a kid, 2020, I can drive flying cars, but it's not happening now.
I know, not yet. Let's see, short-term goals.
20 countries or maybe 40 countries.
I would love to, yeah. Short-term goals, I definitely want to do more education in other countries, for sure, anywhere that's willing to, you know, book some education.
What is it about education that turns you on?
I think I love helping people understand things. Like seeing the light bulb go off in somebody's head is like, really satisfying because I'm like, I wish I had that. So if I'm not helping to make it better, like that also seems wasteful. Like we're not gonna. I don't want all this information that I'm learning to also go to waste. Like if it's gonna help somebody else in different parts, and even just like the few people that I've helped in like the United States, like I've seen a shift in them, and it makes me feel super happy inside. It's like you gave me courage to do this, and they're excelling better, or you know, whatever the subject it was. I think, I don't know, just being able to like help somebody do something different, just to spark basically a new idea in their heads where they. Because it's like for me, it's like it took me a long time to figure those things out, and with all the things that we have available, things should almost be happening a little bit faster, you know. And as you grow, I think you do have a responsibility to kind of shape the next generation to come and make it better, because there's a lot of them coming in, and maybe that's how you leave a legacy when you leave this earth.
Yeah, I think legacy is the strong word.
Yep.
So 19 countries in a year, it's a lot. What did you see?
4 years.
Oh, in 4 years. In
yeah,
4 years.
sorry.
What did you see in common, and what do you see that we are progressing? Are we progressing towards something in terms
definitely.
of barbering? Are we going to more positive?
Oh yeah, of course. As we all grow, as we all share our education, I mean, we have educators hitting every part of the continent, it seems like. So as a whole, like we're moving really, really fast. Even in just like the industry in America, we grown, I forget the numbers exactly, but it's like a lot of money that's going into it, because there's a lot of people that are investing now into the men's grooming. I mean, companies you see jumping in all over it now too, trying to get a piece of that puzzle, you know, a piece of that pie. And it's going to a good place. I think the more we all educate and teach, the better it starts to spread all throughout the world. And I'm sure before you know it, it'll be more normal and big.
There is a common problem in Indonesia nowadays that actually barbers, they now can cut pretty well. They can deliver all kind of haircut, but most of the time they're still following the customer's requests. Like, I want something like this. Like, customers becoming more expert than the barber. How do you see that? How do you see this, and how to cope or motivate barbers to get into more handle or control towards the customers?
Probably just a little bit of some self homework, you know, like maybe if they I mean, half the time everybody's scrolling, right? You're building almost like a memory bank of haircuts. And I think they got to just keep staying inspired, keep educating themselves. Because when I look at people now, I see certain haircuts and I'm like, oh, this would be really cool. So also, if we're excited to share that with our clients, they're more likely to take our recommendation. Because before, I remember I'd have new clients. I'm like, so let's you want to do something new? You know, I just sound like a question, right? But if I'm like, hey, this would look really cool on you. I saw this really cool cut. Let me show you this picture. I took a picture of it, and I'm gonna show them, and I'm building them this excitement around it. So they're like, I'll take it. I'll do it. You know. And it was easier to start to build that, because in the beginning, I came off too soft and like questionable, to the point where like they don't know if you can even do a fade. You know. So now you got to get. Because people are going to read energy off of you. If I'm excited, you're going to be excited. If I'm like kind of questionable, you're going to be like, I don't know if I trust it. Let me get the same thing. So that was something I tested and tried. And then once I was able to understand, like, they're reading off my energy, I was able to say, like, hey, let's try this. So then it kept me starting to do more creative cuts versus like the same stuff. So it was a win-win. They got something new that was different from all their friends, you know, like that's what it always is. I mean, most men's haircuts are very, there's like, I feel like there's like 4 regular haircuts and they all look the same. So if you can add a little bit of something here and there, they're like, oh shoot, like nobody else has this, you know, and they feel nice. And when you make them feel like, hey, I just saw this in Europe, like let me try this on you. And then they're like, oh yeah, that's cool, you know. So you just got to find ways to get excited. And I think you can pass that to them.
So mom, that's psychology for you in barbering, yeah? It's proven.
Yes.
It seems like if you want to see a doctor, and then the doctor is very reserved, very shy, and then you as a patient probably Is this doctor really
Yeah.
can cure me or not?
Right.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want him to tell you like, hey, this is what's going
Yeah,
on and
you
this
have
is
to
how
be
you fix it.
certain.
Yeah.
Or if he's just like, you know, what if he said, I don't know, you know? Or you'd be
That's
like,
ridiculous.
what?
Yeah, that's very funny. I mean, and then if we talking about hair trend in 2019, do you see any difference compared to 5 years ago, and then how our male hair trend is moving forward to 2020? What kind of hairstyle do you see will be trending next year?
I definitely see guys going a little bit longer. You know, they're, when I first started cutting hair, it was all like fades, short hair tops, like a 3 on top, like not a lot of length like you guys. But I think over time, it just seems like these barber Cosmo haircuts are being more popular, where it's like really clean on the side but super choppy and textured on top. That's something I actually typically like most doing, is having the blend of both. But I think also too, like now you're just getting so much inspiration from different countries that everything's just starting to mix and match. So a lot of these custom cuts, mullets, those are starting to come. I've seen those a lot more this year than I've ever seen before. Mixing those back in with faux hawks that used to be big 2 years ago. So a lot of them are just coming back and then going away and then now mixing. And so I think it's just a general just melting pot now of everything.
So longer means that fade is more and more will fade away.
No, I think the fade will be here for a long time, but now you're mixing it with so much more.
Okay, so longer on top and then keep the fade on the
Yeah.
side.
More natural. I've seen more natural cuts now, where people are liking the whole like 2 weeks grown out kind of look, because it's a little bit just different.
More
different.
taper, I guess.
Yeah.
What about products? Do you see any new products that is coming in, or new format, or
You finish.
Yeah, new finish. Is it dry, or we see more and more dry
Than
And
before.
than before. Before is very slick,
Yeah.
wet look.
For me, it's the same thing. I think when I first started, we were using a lot of pomades, very shiny, very sticky, flat to the head almost, you know.
Yep.
But now there's a little bit more loose styles, more textured, more lightweight products. Definitely more dry. I prefer more dry looks. But yeah, there's a lot of good products out there now.
Do you try to create your own signature style for next year, or that you want to share probably?
A signature style?
Hairstyle?
I don't think I have one, honestly. I'm just kind of a collective of a lot of different things. I don't have like a specific haircut I do or design. No.
You're the type of more explorative type of
Yeah.
barber then.
There you go.
But your disconnection is pretty strong.
It kind of just comes to me as I cut sometimes. Sometimes I'll be like, what am I getting? I'm like, you know what? I don't know yet. We're just going to find out throughout the process.
Like for tomorrow, you still don't have
Yeah.
any idea what kind of hairstyle
Yeah,
you will cut.
it's kind of hard to decide. It's weird. But people trust me for some reason. They're like, you know, you might cut off all my hair or just a little bit, but whatever you want to do.
So as a barber, as a new barber, what is your tips? What is their must-have skill in terms of technique before becoming a good barber? What skill set do they have to master first?
I mean, learn the clipper work. Definitely learn how to
Clipper
do ball
is
fades.
the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Learn just the technique of doing bald fades. And there's more than one technique, so don't even limit yourself to just one technique. Try different ones. And you're going to see them online all the time. The way people cut differently, try all of them and see which one you like the best.
That's a weird answer coming from a person who learned cosmetologist.
Yeah.
Why clipper? Why not scissor?
For barbers. Well, for barbers, I mean, clipper
For
work.
barber Cosmo, you said.
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
very different. right?
So for barbers, I mean, naturally you're going to gravitate towards clippers
For
first.
sure. Yeah.
And then for Cosmos, we started with scissors first. But honestly, you should learn both sides. Whether
Yeah.
you have one license or the other, at the end of the day, you do hair. So if you're not going to do it, your friend down the street is going to be willing to do it and take away your clients. And are you going to really stop at what the paper tells you. Like, I don't know what you guys have out here. You guys have different licensing, or is there no
We don't have license.
Oh,
Yeah,
even
we don't
better.
have-
Even better,
You just
right?
do whatever you want then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So learn both.
Yeah.
I highly recommend that. And then just the main thing too is you got to practice. You got to build that muscle memory, how you hold that clipper, all the different techniques. So the more you do it, the better you're going to get at that. And then just being able to create content. I think that's really important, because what if one day somebody from out here can start educating and work for a different company and travel? Like, it's possible. You don't have to be from certain big areas for you to have that opportunity. I think if you can you're able to promote yourself and market yourself well, it could take you to a lot of places.
I think it's a very good advice. I mean, being a barber, not only a barber, but the opportunity is a very huge
yeah.
opportunity lies ahead, like being an educator or brand ambassador.
Right. They're
Doing
everywhere.
event.
Yeah,
doing
they're
an
everywhere.
event.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Every country has their own, whether it's one person or an entire team, it exists. So just knowing that it's possible, like, you have nothing to lose. So, like, why not build yourself? So even when you start and you feel like your haircuts aren't good enough, like, it doesn't matter. Like, the fact that you're trying to get better every day is a lot more important than the people that are afraid to not post any of their failures, because those are going to be the things that are teaching you.
Mm.
Embrace it. What someone told me recently that I really enjoyed is this quote: "Don't waste your failures."
Mm. That's true.
Boom.
That's true.
That's it.
That's true. Because sometimes people too afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't understand that failure is actually can be.
That's what
Yeah.
elevates you.
Yeah, that is something that elevates you.
What is challenging here, it's a cultural thing, I guess, because that sort of mentality that we don't have, well, not everyone has it. I mean, we have like shy as the bottom line, shyness.
Yes.
We are not willing to show whether it's good or,
Weakness.
yeah.
Yeah.
How we overcome and get that kind of mentality.
Yeah. I think, I mean, that's a worldwide situation. I think we all kind of grow to not want to share those parts of us because either we're embarrassed or maybe our egos are big or whatever. But what helped me was just like, okay, if I want to keep avoiding it, then I have to be okay with being in the same place, same results, same whatever. But if I want to challenge myself and get better and not be afraid of whatever it is I'm tackling, I need to just stand up against it. You know, I need to change the way I feel about it. Because if I change the way how I feel about it, then it's going to make me react differently. So if I'm saying like, okay, if I'm going to fail here, now I'm like excited because I'm like, that means I can work here. That means in that little space of being uncomfortable, there's an opportunity for me to grow
To
in
improve,
that.
yeah.
Improve, exactly. Same thing with public speaking. Like, I haven't always been easy to like talk to different people or talk on podcasts and stuff like that. But the more I did it, the easier it got. It's not that it's not hard, but you're able to kind of it would help with the nerves more, and then you do it so much that you start to get more comfortable. You know, it's just like cutting hair, same thing. You learn the first time you hold it, you're holding your clipper all weird, it's loose, it's gonna fall out of your hand. But now the more you do it, you're like you have a flow, you build a muscle memory. So kind of the same thing.
So the more you do it, the better.
The better.
Yeah. So aside of hair cutting, I see that you like tattoo as well. Can you tell us a bit about what is the meaning of everything?
Everything.
Or
Yeah.
what is your first tattoo? when
Yeah.
when did you get it?
First tattoo, I actually got it on my forearm. It was actually under here, this piece right here,
Boleh kasih zoom?
and
This one.
Yeah, this underneath. You
Oh,
can kinda see it.
underneath.
Yeah, it's a cover up. This is an ugly cover up over another one.
All right.
And I don't know what it was. I mean, that was when it first started. And when I
Is it a
first
flower?
started,
No, not a
it's like a
flower.
koi fish. It was supposed to
Oh,
be a koi fish.
fish.
And I was like, you know what, just
Oh,
one.
this is the eye. Yeah, only one.
Only one, okay? And
back
then,
in
of course,
back in
this was when I was 19.
19.
Back when I was 19.
All right.
I was like, you know, just one. And then I hid it for my mom for about 3 months in the summertime. So it's summertime. I'm wearing sweaters and
Yep.
jackets. My mom's like, are you hot? I'm dripping sweat. I'm like, no, I'm good. My mom was like, okay, weird, okay. Whole summer. And I'm like, okay. And then finally I went to go reach for something, and so my sleeve dropped down, and they saw the top of this, and they're like, take your jacket off, you know. And I was so scared because they had told me, because I'd be like, Mom, so if I got a tattoo, like, what happens? And they're like, oh, we'll kick you out and this and that. And I'm like, okay, I definitely can't show them. So then summer came, I hit it, and then it started to pop out. And then they got really mad and upset. And then eventually they didn't kick me out. There was just like, don't get any more, you know. But then once I did hair specifically, and I was like, okay, I think I could do barbering for a long time. That's when I started doing the top of my hands and like my neck and the more visible spots. But before it was always like inside, so you couldn't see it depending on what job I would do. But tattoos for me in general are daily reminders, kind of like the stay gold meaning. Like every time I see certain things, it's just a reminder of like a different memory that helps me kind of get through. And a lot of them are through different experiences. This one represents my culture, my grandma.
That's the Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat.
Okay.
Like my finger ones are just things that I use. So these are really important because they represent different things. This is photography, scissors, you know, my birthday number, love, my zodiac sign, all this other stuff, where I'm from, traditional work that I just appreciate just how it looked, to geometric patterns, which is something new recently that I like, and just trying to connect everything. These are all reminders too, conscious of just being conscious and present in the moment. And you look at your face every day. So I was like, easily something to remember. It's all reminders, quotes that I have from books. Like I have some of those too. Chinese zodiac on my back.
What is 714?
That's my area code where I grew up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's new.
Do you have any tattoo that you don't remember when you made it?
Never.
Like you're drunk, completely drunk.
No. If anything, it's just me trying to be cheap when I was younger. You know, my first tattoo, $15.
Really?
Yeah, it was like somebody's friend's friend.
Okay.
In a dirty house backyard somewhere in the desert, and thankfully I didn't get an infection. But it's more of just like being really cheap, but also when you're young, you don't have a lot of money yet, you know, and that's it. But thankfully, nothing that I really regret. Like I never got anything crazy.
So nice. So you have shared your background, your personal life, your values. I think everything has already been covered.
Yeah. What's next for Sophie Pope to 2020? No, I mean in the future.
In a more longer term, probably.
Long-term.
Vision.
Opening an academy? Stay Gold Academy?
Probably. That's definitely... Right now, it's just moving. I'm
everybody like waiting for that. I think. Really
I think.
expecting.
I think for now, because I'm still traveling, the academy is something. Actually, I just started a new class series. I actually just did this class like 2 weekends ago.
Online.
It was called the Gold Zone, and we created these custom cases with the best tools, because I believe if you have good tools, it helps you with the process of just going through everything. For me, it's like I have always loved investing in quality tools. If it was, I don't care how much it costs, but if it's a good, same thing with cameras. If it's good, I'm going to invest in it because the money will come back always. So we made this kit, and the idea from the kit was because previous times when I would teach classes and do hands-on, people didn't have the right tools. So it was hard for people to learn because they're using something else, and they have to learn how to adapt that tool into what I'm saying and different functions. So for this class, I was like, I want to do something new that I've never seen anybody else do. So we created these cases where it had like my Black Effects clipper. We gave them one of the best trimmers on the market, a foil shaver, Japanese scissors that are handmade from Japan, custom for that class. The razor that I really love using. So they had a full package of something that was complete, that was super tools that I believe in, that have helped me. I mean, I show it on my videos all the time. I use the
super
same
tools.
stuff.
You hear that?
I gave them this kit, and what was different about this class is like we taught people how to do hair, but there was a big section in the 2-day class where we talked about like building self-awareness, building mindfulness skills that they could take back home and like learn the tools. I mean, learn the skill, learn the tools and stuff. But now you're going into more of the mental part of like what it takes to also be successful, and how to align ourselves to attract things that we want versus like not knowing how, like, okay, you want this, but are you actually doing stuff here that's allowing you to open yourself up to those opportunities, and teaching people how to like look inward and build more self-awareness. That was a new thing for me to kind of cover. It was really successful. We sold out of this class in 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Insane, because I did not think this was going to happen. I'm like, this is my first time doing this class. Maybe I'll sell out in 24 hours, hopefully. In 45 minutes, we sold out. So I'm super excited. We're going to do another one soon. I believe we might do it in New York. So I think that's my main focus in the short terms is this moving academy class that I can do, where it's literally just a small group, because I want to be completely more intimate and hands-on with each person. I mean, I love the big classes and stuff, but that's a different kind of education. And this one is more of like my project that I've been thinking about for a long time. It's just like having all these different avenues and having people more closely in contact of like, okay, what are you doing? How can we make this better? So that's something that I'm doing. And then eventually I'd hope that would become maybe a more stationary location where people can come in, and maybe we extend the days, because right now it's at 2 days. But even within those 2 days, like, you're still learning so much, but also having to balance that it's not so much that they're like, I don't even remember anything. You know, it was a good amount. And so hopefully I can extend that program and make it longer and even better. And this is just the beginning, so I can't wait to see how that evolves over time.
Oh, sounds like a solid plan, and we cannot wait. Probably you can open a gold zone in Indonesia, because
It's possible.
a lot of person coming from other country probably want to join as well. And then I like the concept that you're not only passing on the knowledge, but also the tools. Not only the tools, but how to build the awareness, the self-awareness. I think that is the most important thing.
Oh, for sure.
Otherwise, if somebody is getting better, getting good, getting more expert, more influential, and they don't know about
What to do with
what
that.
to do with that, and then seems
Being irresponsible.
being irresponsible, and then the egos
Yeah.
getting bigger and
Yeah.
bigger, then
Yeah, basically you're trying to decrease the ego
Yeah.
through this process.
Tone down.
Probably
bit.
tone
You
down.
need to tone it down and just level out,
Yeah.
and that'll help you think more clearly, because
Yeah.
you're not focused on the end result. You're focused on the process.
Yeah.
That's the journey. You know,
self-awareness is the.
that's what helped
Most
me
important.
get here, and that's why
I can see
we
it. I
thought
can
it was
see that.
important to teach this to other people.
Agree.
Wow, very rich discussion. This is the best
So much.
podcast ever, I think.
So much in 1 hour.
Yeah, so much in 1 hour. I think you just need to listen to what this 1 hour, and then you can take a lot of knowledge from SOFIE STAYGOLD.
Listen to understand.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. So we are very lucky to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And we
Thank
are
you.
very lucky and for you to come to Indonesia as well to share your knowledge tomorrow in the Barber Life Indonesia.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So hopefully to see you again in more country in Asia probably.
Yes,
So that
that's the goal.
we
That's
can
goal.
leverage more Indonesian or even Asian barbers up to global level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the most important thing, they must have self-awareness to become a great barber. So I think that's all guys. Terima kasih udah dengerin podcast Chief Chat. Dan sampai ketemu lagi di episode selanjutnya. Jangan lupa grooming hari ini. Goodbye for now.